Welcome to day one of our journey through Hey You. How this format is going to go is I am going to read the note that's at the start of the book or a start of each day in the book, and then we're going to talk about it. We're going to walk through it together. And I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments and what you got from it, how you felt about it, what it made you consider in your own life. But we're going to start with day one. And the title of day one is Be Disciplined, Not Disconnected. It says, Hey, you don't have an option. Don't you dare ever think again you could do this without prayer or being in your word. You'll drown. Never again. One day at a time. You intercede from a place of intimacy. You're hidden, he shows you something, and you talk to him about it. Don't disconnect again. One of the primary aspects of this note is environment. And I actually saw a typo or a misprint of the verse that I put in day one. It says Genesis 1:27, but it should be Genesis 2:7. I apologize. But it's the fact that, and that's the scripture that says that God breathed into man's nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. And I think sometimes we can consider that as having been a one time thing that happened in Genesis, that happened for Adam. But we were created through that breath. Like that's the breath that not only gave us life, but sustains us. And so when we go throughout our lives, throughout our days, without reconnecting to the breath, without getting breathed into again, we're disconnecting from the source of our life, the source of our breath. And it's not just our physical breath, it's what gives us life, what sustains us, what makes us come alive. So when it said that man became a living soul, that was the ignition of life, the activation of life. And for me, I can often disconnect from, because he said I've been saved for a very long time. So I feel like God is a part of my life, and which is a good thing. But there are rhythms and disciplines like reading the Bible and fasting and praying that help us to connect to him. So it's not just having like the understanding that my life is God's, or I'm doing my life with God. It's having this awareness that without him, I cannot do this. And it's more than just, oh, he's with me right now. It's, I need to stop, take a second, and connect with him, connect with the source of my life. And so many times we can keep going with our life because it's on automatic. We can't really change. Well, sometimes we can, but there are things that are happening around us that we don't always get a say in. And because we're often running to catch up to what's happening, or to uh, almost camouflage ourselves with what's happening so that things don't get too disrupted, or we just kind of go with the flow, we end up, without realizing it, disconnecting. And we're running and being sustained on our own strength, on our own breath, on our own sustenance, and not connecting with the one who is actually the source of our life, who is, as my friend Mandy Walters saying, who is our breath of life. So this note is like a recalibration or a recommitment to saying, I actually cannot do any of this without connecting with God. And it's not just connecting as a byproduct of my day, it's connecting as a priority. When we look at, and there's a part in the note that says fishes need water and we need him. And I say we need air and water too, but the fact that in the environment of water, fishes thrive because that's the environment they were created for. That's the environment they were created in. And it's the same for us. His breath, his presence is the environment that we were created from and for. And in order to not suffocate through life, we need to keep connecting to his breath. There is also this part in day one, is understanding that oftentimes we want to have like blocks of time that we can set aside with him. And if you can, you should. If we can set aside blocks of time for social media or for games or other things that are optional, then we can set aside blocks of time, or some of those blocks of time that we've reserved for other things, we can make that as our priority time with him. But oftentimes we're looking at, if we don't have blocks of time, that we won't do any time because I don't have time to spend with the Lord. Well, do you have like 8 minutes or 9 minutes and 23 seconds? Like, do you have something that you can give? And I make the point in the book that sometimes when we don't have time for the all, we'll settle for none until we have time for the all. And that rarely ever happens. And so we keep distancing ourselves from connecting to him, disconnecting ourselves from that time in his presence. And it keeps getting longer and longer and longer. And again, we end up suffocating our way through life when we don't make his presence. We don't make the source of our life a priority. And then there's this part that says, in order to stay away from the pitfalls of religion, intimacy has to be the motivation of our relationship with him. And it goes to say prayer, reading the Bible, fasting, praise, and worship, all out of relationship. And a lot of frustration that's happening in the church as a whole, I think now is because of what the Apostle Paul said to Timothy about having a form of godliness but denying its power. There's a form of disciplines and a form of trying to connect with God just because you have to, or just because you should, not because you want to. And if we can recalibrate our hearts and recalibrate our minds to the fact that we don't do those things because it's part of a religion, or because it's a part of a set of rules, or ritualistic things to do, routine things to do. We do it because our life comes from him, because he is the source of strength and vitality and what makes us come alive. And so that's an important shift, an important redirection of our thoughts in our connecting with him. So again, he is the source of our life. His breath is the environment that we were made from and the environment that we were made for. And so we have to make it a priority. And it is that imagery of needing to catch air and living in a vacuum and needing our lives to be resustained, revived just by him and by his breath. So I'm going to end this video in the same way that we end this day in the book. It says, go ahead, turn your affection toward him for a short while. I'll wait here. I won't wait here the whole time. I'll revisit. I'll come back tomorrow with you. But I do encourage you to take some time just to connect to the source of your life, to the breath of life. And whatever that looks like for you, and if you are one who loves to spend time with him through reading his word or prayer or putting on a song or singing, playing yourself in praise and worship, and just directing your attention, redirecting your focus on him. And we have the promise in James chapter 4, verse 8a, that when we come close to God, He will come close to us. So that's my prayer for you today, and something that I challenge you to do is to come close to Him. Just draw close to Him and watch as the promise that He will draw near to you comes alive, and how quickly His breath comes to revive you. I will see you tomorrow for day 2.